What's up everyone, my name's Piersey and I've spent nearly a decade following strict diets such as keto, carnivore and animal based. At first the results were great. I lost weight, I experienced better health, increased energy, increased focus and my mental clarity was higher than it's ever been. But fast forward to today, I'm the heaviest I've ever been in my life. I've developed health problems which I never saw coming and realised it's finally time to quit. In this video I want to share with you exactly why I walked away after 9 years and why I believe these diets may not be the answer to good long-term health. So going back to my childhood, my teenage years, early 20s, I always had a problem with food addiction, especially everything related to carbs, sugar. I would eat and drink anything with very little thought of what it might do to my long-term health. I would eat things like McDonald's, KFC, Pizza Hut, kebabs, pies, pastries. I'd drink beer, soft drinks like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, you name it. Now obviously I'd make plenty of healthy food choices as well, but the majority of the time I was eating a lot of processed foods. And eventually it caught up with me, 2016. I was tired, sluggish, unfit. I was starting to get general aches and pains in my body. I realised I had a major problem with food addiction and I needed to make a change. So while surfing Google and watching YouTube videos, I stumbled across a keto diet. And at first there wasn't, 2016, there wasn't much information on the keto diet, that there is today anyway. So I probably took about 2 to 3 months before I finally mustered up the courage to start the diet. But when I did, well, the results came quick. So my early success with keto, I was a little bit overweight at the time and the weight just started melting off. I didn't even need to try. Mind you, I didn't start the keto diet for weight loss, but it's always nice to lose a few pounds. Probably the most important aspect of keto for me was its benefits for the mental clarity. I remember starting 2016 and my focus and my thinking was out of this world. It was nothing like I'd ever experienced before. So that was the main drawing point for me. And it was really easy to do, you know, all you had to do was cut your carbs to about 50 grams a day, 25, 50 grams a day, and increase your fat intake. And that's what I did. Yeah, honestly, it was very easy initially. I accustomed very well to the diet. And over the next 4 years, I stuck to the keto principles, around about 50 carbs a day. I found myself towards the end, well, not towards the end, maybe throughout the whole period, I was eating a lot of versions of keto foods, such as keto bread, keto pizza, low carb pancakes, fat bombs, all these different keto products, keto foods. I'd have like lots of stevia, erythritol, monk fruit sweetener, and I was eating so many of these sweet treats still. I was watching the YouTube videos for recipes and looking at Google and Pinterest for inspiration, and I was still pretty much addicted to foods. You know, nothing has really changed. I felt good though, you know, everything was good. I mean, the diet was working, but there was always something missing. 2018 and 19, there was a lot of information on the carnivore diet, and I looked at it and I thought, there's no way I can do that. It makes no sense. It goes against everything that we learned growing up, you know, just eat meat and don't eat fruits and vegetables. I mean, that's what you need, right? You need your fruits and your veggies. So yeah, it took me a while to get around the idea of just eating meat, but the more I thought about it, I was eating a lot of meat anyway on keto, so I was already eating like a kilo or maybe 1.5 to 2 pounds a day of meat some days. So I'd already had a very high meat intake. How hard could it be and transition to a carnivore diet? So that's what I did. Eventually I realised it was I was in no better place than when I first started the diet in 2016, and I wanted to and get my food cravings under control. So yeah, that's what I did 2020, started the carnivore diet. And initially, again, great success. I lost lots of weight, and my everything was good again. The mental clarity, the focus, and it was easy. Obviously, it was my choice of food was red meat. It was beef and lamb primarily. And the reason why I landed on that is I was watching again lots of YouTube at the time, and whether you're watching doctors or influencers or them what I eat in a day videos, you'll notice a running trend. There was red meat. You know, everything was stapled around red meat, and particularly beef. So that was where I ended up settling. It was about 50-50 between ground beef, so I'd have ground beef 80-20, and I would buy the beef roasting joints and just slice them into steaks, put them in the air fryer, add some butter to it, and it was it was so simple. I'd also buy lots of butter. That was my main fat choice. I'd buy raw butter from a farm. I'd get 3 kilos every single month delivered to my home. So on average, I'd eat about 100 grams of butter a day, sometimes more or less. And if I didn't eat it, then the next batch would be. Delivered in the following month. So I had to eat it, but I enjoyed it. You know, had to get your fat intake somehow. You don't want to run your body just on protein. That doesn't work. Not for me anyway. I mean, my protein was very high, but it was always balanced out with the fat. I would also eat lots of lamb. I would buy legs of lamb when they're on offer. Here in the UK, lamb is generally much 2 to 3 times more expensive than beef, I'd say, depending on where you buy it from. So beef was my main thing. Easy to cook, clean up, convenient, you name it. So I followed this carnivore diet relatively strictly for 4 years. Again, I was no saint. I'd say 95% of the time I was very strict carnivore, but the other 5% of the time I would have some sodas like Pepsi, Pepsi Max, Coca-Cola. I'd drink some beer occasionally. I would have some fruits, you know, just like most people do. I don't know. I'm not an athlete. I'm just a normal guy. So I had no reason to stick to it 100%. You know what I mean? So 6.5 days a week a year, 6.5 days out of the week. Yeah, strict carnivore. The other half a day was cheat meals and whatnot. So that was that. Also, I wouldn't really deviate away from the red meat. I would eat things like chicken and turkey and fish, seafood very sporadically, maybe only a few times a year. Chicken especially, it never sat well with me. I mean, you try eating 2 to 3 pounds of chicken every day, and for me it added up. You know, I wasn't feeling good from it, and it was obviously very high omega-3 content. And fish, I would have some sardines and mackerel, salmon. Only a few times a year though, so it was all primarily red meat. Towards the end of my carnivore diet, that was 2024, and I started to experience again very low energy. My sleep was starting to really suffer. I had, on average, on a really good night, it would be 5 to 6 hours sleep a night. That was really good, and that was very rare. It was mostly between 3 to 5 hours of sleep every day, every night, and I was so not tired. I mean, my mind was so tired. I wanted to sleep, but my body seemed to be having none of it, and I just lay there, for hours on end. No matter what I did, it was obviously, I know you need. Well, I don't know. I've heard that you need less sleep on carnivore, but again, I felt like I needed more. I'd still be a little bit tired, sluggish throughout the day, and I'd eat more. So I'd eat more meals because I was awake longer, isn't it? So in the end, though, yeah, again, watching YouTube, I would notice a lot of people quitting the carnivore diet and going back to they were starting like an animal-based version, eating fruits and vegetables and whatnot, and that was it for me. I needed little convincing after this time. I was following this diet for 4 years, and even though I got my food addiction under control, it was good. But I felt my body was missing something. It was time to incorporate some fruits back into the diet and maybe some vegetables, which is what I did. So 2024, that's when I began my meat and fruit diet. It was more just that, I wouldn't really be too much on the vegetables still. Like maybe I'd have like an onion and clove of garlic or something, carrots and broccoli. With my beef still, I'd still eat my red meat, my beef. But mainly I would incorporate lots of fruits. So lots more berries. I would eat bananas, oranges, watermelon and melon in the summer. All the usual fruits. And I felt good, that increased my energy again. I felt better. After 4 years following a carnivore diet, so things were good. Things were good. So roll on 2025. That's when things started to slowly go downhill for me. My weight was increasing. It was going up. Slowly but surely it was going up. I worked out. I was using ChatGPT, and I worked out I was eating on average between 3,000 to 4,000 calories every single day. You do that for 1 year, you're going for me, you're going to gain weight. I wasn't very active, very sedentary. I've had a few injuries over the years, so I don't do as much exercise as I should. So my weight was going up slowly but surely, and I ended up weighing 260 pounds, the heaviest I've ever been in my life. Wasn't really the weight. I've never really been too bothered about my weight, to be honest. It's just one of them things you want to be. Everyone wants to be lean and trim, want to look good, everything. I started to notice, the main thing for me, I started to notice pains just in my stomach under my centre and right rib cage. At first it was a dull pain, so I get this pain once every day, just for a few seconds, nothing major. And again, over the next 2 to 3 months, it began increasing. It was 10 times a day, 20 times a day, and just this lingering dull pain. It didn't really, wasn't a sharp pain, wasn't hurting much, but it was there, and something was. I realised something isn't right here, and it's quite worrying, really, because going to the gym, you do your chest, you do your bench press, your bicep curl, your squat, and you feel it in your muscles. This was not that. It was completely different, like obviously your organs. And so I realised it's time to have a checkup. Going to the GP, had my routine annual blood test, and long story short, the results came back, and my iron was very high. My liver enzymes were elevated. My iron was sky high. It was right to the top, and B12 was also high. So I was asked to come in for appointments so they can feel around my stomach, just check my liver. Went to the GP. They felt you got a little bit of a bump there, which is not what I wanted to hear. That's the last thing, isn't it? So because of my blood test, they're going to refer me for an urgent appointment for a CT scan. So many things started running through my mind. Yeah, it was a lot to process in such a short period of time. Again, I went for the CT scan, which came around really quick. It was only like I only had to wait like 3 or 4 days, so that was really fast. And again, long story short, results confirmed, fatty liver disease. So again, yeah, in the space of a week, it was a lot to take in, and it could have been worse. Obviously, I was expecting all sorts of things. Things run through your heads when you're told things. When your blood is not right and whatnot. So that shocked me. 9 years I've been following a healthy diet and whatnot. Keto, carnivore, animal-based, and I've ended up with a fatty liver. So that was a huge wake-up call for me. I had lots of things to think about. What I'll do is I'll share the full details in another video of how eating carnivore, keto and animal-based gave me a fatty liver, because I think that deserves its own deep dive. But long story short, my body was breaking down on these diets and something had to change. So that brings me to why I finally had to quit. June 2025 this year. Because of the iron overload in my body, I've been advised to cut all red meat from my diet. Unfortunately, beef, lamb, extremely good source of heme iron, which is the last thing my body needs at the moment. I am obviously working with my GP and a consultant to get my blood levels down to a healthy, safe range. But here in the UK, we have the NHS, which is amazing, fantastic service. But the only problem is you have to sometimes wait a long time for your appointments. So everything takes a long time, basically. And I've been advised to cut out my meat until then. Maybe I'll have iron chelation to reduce the iron in my body. I don't know. Most likely, see what happens. But yeah, since then, had to change my diet. So yeah, I have to be honest with myself. Just because a diet works for some people doesn't mean it's going to work forever, especially doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So my body was sending me warning signs for a long time. The pain in my abdomen, the weight gain, and I realised it's time to make a change. So after everything I've been through in the last 9 years, and especially last year, I've set myself a target to lose 100 pounds. And obviously not going to be easy, and I'm going to try and do it in a way that heals my body instead of having it break down further. And the diet I'm following now, completely the opposite of keto and carnivore. Never thought I'd eat this way, but here I am. In my next video, I'll break it all down. The diet I've switched to, why I chose it, and how I plan to achieve this 100 pound weight loss goal. These days diet can feel so complicated, right? You have so much conflicting information out there, social media hype, the planning of all your meals. It's so easy to feel lost. So if you're stuck on keto, carnivore, animal-based dieting, or maybe you're battling your own food addiction, I know, I get it, and you're not alone. Drop your experience in the comments. I really love to hear it, and maybe it can help someone else out in this world. And make sure you like and subscribe. In my next video, I'll reveal the diet that I'm using now, and also stay tuned where I'll explain exactly how eating a carnivore diet actually gave me a fatty liver. Anyway, see you in the next one.